Hello friends, Molly Ponfidith here, CEO of the SOAR Community Network and co-founder of the SOAR Community Nebula. Our goal this year is to bring to you 1,000 champions of change, community builders, and change agents. And today we have Ms. Kari Galloway. Kari, thank you so much for being a part of our global initiative.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, what we normally do is just ask you to start by introducing yourself and letting us know the work that you're currently doing in the world.
Okay, thanks. Well, I am Kari Galloway, and I am the executive director for the last just a little bit over 14 years of the Friends of Guest House. It's a nonprofit organization, the largest reentry program for women in Virginia, and we have residential bed space for women who are transitioning from the criminal justice system back into their community here in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia DMV, as we call it. So we provide a landing spot for them. We also do work inside the jails and with families, with the women and their families once they leave our residential program. They stay with us for about 6 months. Then they go into our aftercare program where we oversee some transitional housing for them as well, and just try to give them all of the strength and all of the opportunity to become, you know, to transition from who they were to who they were meant to be.
What attracted you to this work in the first place, and what's keeping you there for so long?
Well, you know, I tell people this story. It's not really that inspirational how I came to it. You know how some people just have these great, I always knew I wanted to do something, and I actually just really lucked into this job. I was in a place of great transition, both personally, professionally in my life. And I actually came to the DC area. I didn't know anybody here. I had one old family friend who I hadn't seen in many years, and it was his birthday. And so I thought, well, I'll come out for this and then see where I'm originally from Idaho. And I took a road trip out here, and I just never left. That's been like 16, 17 years now. So I got here and I decided to stay, and I needed a job. And it's really that simple. I actually had cast a really wide net. I met a few people here, and then I got this interview for this job, and I thought, oh, they're never going to hire me, you know? But they did. It turns out they were looking for somebody with business skills as well as an interest in the social service community, and I had a bit of both. And you ask why I stayed. I stay because I absolutely love the women. They are by far the most amazing people as a group that I've ever met in my life. They're resilient, they're brilliant, they're fighters, they're really in need of support, and for them to let me be part of their journey, to walk by their side while they're doing this really difficult work of transforming their lives is really a gift. And so even on the bad days, on the days when things are hard and things don't go right, or we don't get a grant, or, you know, we're doing all this, that opportunity to be present with people, to be really fully present with them, I wouldn't trade that for anything. So now I can't, now I don't leave. First, I wasn't planning to stay, and now I don't know how I'll leave, you know.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, we're glad we have you. We're glad we have you here in the DC area.
Thank you.
In honor of our interview series, can you give an example or share an anecdote of a community builder or change agent or a champion mentor that showed you additional love, empathy, compassion, and really steered you or impacted you in a profound way to lead your life in the way you do today with being a change agent yourself, being a community builder?
I don't know. I don't know if I could credit a single individual. I've had some really great teachers. I think starting with my grandmother and her best friends when I was little, and they only ever went through the 8th grade. You know, but they were like the wisest women I've ever known,
Mm.
and you know, they didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love, and that was so important to me. I could see that the love was a real, I don't want to say a substitute, because it's not a substitute for money. It was the core, you know what I mean? It was the thing that really drove them to be better people, to be hardworking, to be really honest and sort of morally fit without any pretension. You know, it just was who they were. So that was really great for me. Um, my uncle is a very big part of who I am. Coming up, he was the first openly gay person that I knew, and that was really hard in my family. I come from a real rural area, and like I said, you know, people had like an 8th grade education, so it was hard for a lot of them to sort of like think about it. But in the end, you know, they said they helped me to see that love was love, and that he hadn't changed. Only I had, my opinion of him, you know, had changed. So there was real, you know, need to struggle. And he is a very good role model for justice. He was always challenging me to get out and do something for other people, to not have an expectation that other people were going to just take care of me or pay for me to go to college or any of that. You know, I worked my way through, and I think that was a really, really good, you know, path to follow. So, yeah.
Well, it's amazing to hear the stories of the people closest to us, our family members or close extended family are the ones who really planted those seeds for us from the very beginning. It's beautiful
Right.
to hear stories like that because, you know, we
Yeah.
collect things along the way, but when you have that as a foundation, I think we get to be ahead of the curve with that. Okay, so the next
Yeah.
question that I have now is when you think of a community builder or you've been around so many community champions, are there attributes or characteristics that are common that are consistent?
Yeah. I like to be around people who are passionate about justice and equality and trying to make things as, you know, equal as possible, and provide access for people. Not a hand up, but a hand, you know, a hand over sort of a thing, where we're all helping build a community. So I like it when people are able to also bring me along with them, you know, and teach me new things. I really, really like to do that, even though it's painful sometimes. And I wish I'd just been born brilliant, but I'm not. And I learn stuff all the time. So some of the best lessons are painful, I guess. I just am a really have a deep sense of justice, and wanting to make sure that people have opportunities. I mean, I try to recognize my privilege as a white woman, especially. I also look at the differences with the genders, and the barriers that other people had, and I want to try to help be a part of whatever change would make it possible for people to have a more level playing field.
Yeah. Well, this is a part of your role and your everyday existence now with this organization that you so lovingly represent and support and operate. What other causes or movements are you utilizing your gifts, your experience, and talents to move forward to really shape or reshape their missions? Are there any ones that you want to highlight?
Well, I am obviously I'm really interested in criminal justice reform. I'm very, very concerned about mass incarceration in this country. I've looked at how other countries manage their criminal justice system, and some of them do it a lot better. We tend to have this like very self-centric, think that we're so cutting edge here, and yet a lot of developing countries, and certainly a lot of the European countries do, especially for women, do incarceration better. For instance, they let women keep their children with them if they're incarcerated, or if they give birth while they're in jail. So that's really important to me. I'm also really, I grew up out west, and I grew up on the Nez Perce Indian Reservation. And so for me, that population was the ethnic minority population that I really knew the most about, and saw the most horrible, and heard people say terrible things about Indians. And in my own family, there was a lot of ignorance. And so that I feel very passionate about still. And it's my hope that when I return home, which I plan to do at some point in my life, that I'm able to use some of the things that I've learned here, working with it within the criminal justice system, and certainly with more diversity in the DMV than I grew up with, to hopefully be able to do something with the first people that I knew so many of growing up. So I'm passionate about that. And I'm also passionate about seniors and aging. And because I have several family members who are in the military, including my oldest stepson, I'm also try to stay involved with veterans, or anything kind of related to the military. I used to volunteer to do more than I do now, but I should do that again. Yeah.
Well, balancing all that you do at work and trying to make time for all these other causes, it's challenging.
It is.
But we
So many
type of passion and care, we find a way. We find a way. When things are difficult for you, or life kind of throws these curveballs, is there a motto or quote or philosophy that really helps bring you back to center and keeps you shifted and motivated?
Well, I have a lot of favorite quotes. I have this whole, I can just turn this really quick. You can see this whole board is covered.
Yes.
This, I started out as a couple of little phrases on the door of my old office at work. And some of the women would come and put more things, quotes up for me. And when people would come and sit in my office and they'd ask me a question, I would say, oh, let me see. How about this? Success is a great deodorant. It takes away all your smells. You know what I mean? So I seem to I like the things that resonate in the moment for the situation that happens. But I think I've always had a big poster of the Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, concerned, committed citizens can change the world. That one. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, because I feel like doing anything is better than doing nothing, So doing anything to make a situation better is way better than wringing your hands and just lamenting that the world is a bad place, because it's not. It's really fine, it's a really beautiful place, and terrible things happen, and people are hurt, and and we've all been hurt, but if we stop believing in it, the ability to make it better, I just think it would be tragic.
Yeah. Well, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
And that question is, what would a better world look like through your eyes?
A better world?
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a few people it might not include, but then they're good teachers, they teach us well too, you know? So let's see. It would be more just, and we would do more to support each other and bring each other up instead of pushing people away and not believing that they're capable of change. I really believe that everybody has this core of goodness, and I would like to see us honor that more and try to help people to bring that out of themselves, so that we're all, you know, because I do believe in the big community, you know, that we all matter to each other and should to ourselves as well. So to hang on to how precious and beautiful we all are, and to be able to help people to see that in themselves.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Kari, for this opportunity to feature you, to spotlight some of your insights and the way in which you see the world and how you're able to shape and mold your community and make a positive imprint in your own unique, special way. Thank you for inspiring us today with your words of wisdom.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this show. What a gift. That's great.
You're very welcome, and honestly, it's our honor to do it. I think the most important thing for us to remember, like you said, is the world is beautiful, and it's made up of all these beautiful light bearers and light workers and passionate souls who really are out there trying to create this better world. So we can't lose sight of that. And I think one thing that is easily overlooked is the hard work, the everyday little deeds that become these huge, huge changes in society. So we want to make sure that people are hearing these stories so that it kind of drowns out some of this loud, scary news that's going on in the world. So thank you for being a part of our global initiative. Really,
yeah, thank you.
For those that are watching, thank you so very much for being a part of our journey as we bring to you hundreds and hopefully the goal is 1,000 this year, community builders and champions of change who are out there actively using their gifts and talents to create this beautiful world that we all live in. Please remember to nominate yourself or someone in your community who's making a difference. Visit us at nebula.soarcommunitynetwork.com. Thank you, everyone, and we'll talk to you very soon.